Welcome to Media Aesthetics TVR 019 for winter 2021. I'm going to be your professor. My name is Angelo Ford. You guys can find my contact information and a little bit more background about me in our syllabus, so be sure to check that out. I served in the United States Air Force as a pilot. You might be able to tell by some of the paraphernalia here behind me. After I separated, I came out here to California, went back and got a master's degree in business, and worked in logistics for a good 5, 6 years. And then a friend of mine came into some cash to produce a film. He was a director, and he asked me if I would work on that movie as a production manager, which I did, and I absolutely loved it. So I went back to school and community college, Saddleback, worked on a program for cinema and television, and a couple years of that. I still really enjoyed it. Was working on sets, and went back full time to get my MFA in television producing and film producing at Chapman University. So I've been doing that for a good amount of time, and spent some time over in England. Came back here to the States and got the opportunity to start teaching, and that's what brings me to you here today. The goal of this course is to examine the aesthetics that go into making your films. And it really means breaking them down by frame, by scene, and getting a good idea of what is the sound, the sights, all of the things that really give us the feelings of a particular scene. How is editing used in collaboration with that? The mise en scène, what is the overall feeling of the scene? Right now, I'm sitting here in my garage in a tiny little corner. This is maybe a 10 by 5 foot space. But you really wouldn't know it by looking at this frame. It looks like it's a workshop, a place where I do films all the time. It really comes down into what you show inside that frame. And these concepts can be applied to all media production television, film, plays. It's all basically the same thing that you're controlling as the director, as the craft person who's responsible for a particular element of the scene. And we'll be looking on focusing on the identification of that, whose jobs are responsible for each particular aspect, and then we'll be doing the appreciation and analysis of everything that goes into making and developing those scenes. There is no book for this course, but I do highly recommend that you guys, spend the money that you would have spent on a book on renting the films that are suggested for the viewings. You can find them on Amazon, Netflix, um, YouTube for $2.99, $3.99 for each movie, and there's maybe 5 or 6 movies. So again, they're not required, but they are highly recommended that you guys do watch those. I think they'll really add value to each week's module that we're discussing. So, speaking of each week's module, in this first week, we'll be talking about introduction to sound, light, and exposition. Basically what we're seeing in a frame, what's going on, why we're seeing it, what wants to be conveyed by the director and the writer, the filmmakers. We'll be taking a look at War of the Worlds as the recommended film. And the reason why for that is it's just so amazing as a standalone piece when it comes to the sound and the visuals. I don't know if anybody's read about the War of the Worlds mass hysteria that came from the radio play, but people thought it was so real that, there was attempted suicide and just people going nuts over the idea that aliens could possibly invading. And it's an interesting point that when the movie came out, people didn't have that same reaction. Even though they could see it visually, there was just something that didn't convey the same way the radio did about making it seem like it was something so real. They saw it on a cinematic screen, so they understood that it was an artwork rather than a transmission of information only. Um, so when that movie did come out, though, the colors were so brilliant, and the imagination for the spaceships, and just everything that went into the light, sound, and exhibition, that I think it makes a really great movie for us to look at in the week one module. Each week, I want you guys to respond in the discussion board to a question that I pose for the module, and then comment on somebody else's post. And that will be your points for the week for writing assignments. So discussions are going to be a big part of each week in the modules, and just keep an eye out for those. So that's what a basic week will look like for you guys. There'll be a lecture for you to go through, a recommended movie for you to watch, some kind of writing assignment, whether it's a actual paper or just posting onto the discussion board. And we'll be doing that week over week for basically 6 weeks. You guys can go in and take a look at the modules that are listed for each week if you want to get an idea of what's to come, or shoot me an email. Other than that, I'm looking forward to being your professor for the course, and I hope you enjoy it.